Let's get started as people are flowing into the webinar. My name's Martin Gill and welcome to our 30th Security Thought Leadership webinar. And the idea of these thought leadership webinars is to debate issues around the security sector in order that we can think now about how we can have a better type of security in the future. That's the idea of thought leadership. That's the idea of critiquing what's going on. And today, our topic is, what should we expect from security leaders? Are they good enough? And this is a direct follow-on from previous webinars, where we've been hearing on the one hand about the rather disjointed approach to security, not just within countries, but between countries. And also the extent to which that fragmented voice has got in the way of progress. And on the other hand, the key role played by those in corporate security, in security companies, and indeed leadership in security associations that are paving the way for a better type of security in the future. In a minute, I'm going to introduce our 4 panelists from different parts of the world, which combine leadership in security associations with leadership in organizations. And once each of them have introduced themselves, I will then invite each of them to make an opening statement. And after that, I'll come to you, the audience, for your questions. As always, please use the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. And do get your questions in early, and I'll endeavour to incorporate them straight afterwards. So let's get started straight away, and let's ask our panel to introduce themselves. And let's go to Godfried first. Godfried.
Thank you, Martin. My name is Godfried Hendricks from the Netherlands. I work as a business and product development director for Revolution Retail Systems. And as a volunteer leader, I am honored this year to be the global president of ASCS International, serving our 34,000 members all around the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Godfried. It's an honor to have you too. Juan, introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon, Martin. Thank you very much. Juan Muñoz, 62 years. This year will get my 40th anniversary working on security. I've been a vendor, I've been a security manager, security director, and I've been consultant for many years. I'm also a volunteer on SIS. I'm currently the regional vice president of the region ITC. And it is a pleasure to be with you this afternoon sharing our thoughts about security and leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Donna, introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. Donna Kobsarek. I'm with JP Morgan Chase. I'm based in Chicago, Illinois, as you will tell by the accent shortly. I manage 15 states within the JP Morgan Chase footprint in Northern Plains. And with my volunteer leadership, I am a council vice president and I oversee 4 communities. Thanks, Martin.
Donna, thank you very much indeed. And finally, I should say we were due to have Guy Mathias from the Security Commonwealth. He got called away at the last minute. We're very lucky to have Don Randall join us. Don, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. It's a pleasure to join you. It's also good to meet up with Donna after several years. And Juan, I outlive you by 10 years. I've done 50 years in this industry, but I did start when I was 16. So City of London Police, focusing on fraud and counter-terrorism, 14 great years at JP Morgan Chase, 8 years direct security at the Bank of England, and the first ever CISO at the bank. Now run my own business. Prefer the word advisor as opposed to any other word. I think it's more soft. It's a pleasure to join you, Martin. I look forward to the questions.
Thank you very much indeed, Don. So let's go now to our opening statements. And first of all, we'll go to the Netherlands and ask Godfried. Godfried, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Martin. So for me, basic and advanced security and industry knowledge, leadership skills, and the ability and willingness to cooperate are the most important traits for a successful security leader. But it all starts with a positive and innovative attitude. We have many brilliant security professionals, but as in any industry, unfortunately, we also have a small number with a lack of emotional intelligence and even smaller number of seemingly intellectually challenged. Even our industry is unable to escape the infamous Dunning-Kruger effect, where the worst performers believe that they are better than average or even best. This effect is nowhere more visible than on social media, and unfortunately some of our industry's lesser performers seem to be active there too. Fortunately, this is only a very small group in our industry, but we must be aware of the fact that they can negatively influence the perception of our industry. However, let us not focus on this very small group that will be very difficult to reach and support, and focus instead on the many already outstanding security professionals and the many with a good potential and eagerness for improvement. I believe that the vast majority of our industry is formed by passionate, thoughtful, and generous individuals who are able and willing to assist each other. The good thing about our profession is our willingness to support each other, share best practices, and offer help to our colleagues who need help the most. This strength is taken a few steps further within the ASCS Global Network, where everyone is really eager to assist a fellow member whenever and wherever they are. ASCS works together with many partners globally, government, education, industry, and also other organizations, and is able and willing to take the lead, but also to cooperate with partners that have initiated good projects. But it should never be about the organization, but always about the value for our members and other stakeholders. Just like ESRM does, we must take a more holistic approach towards collaboration. Cyber and physical security need to join forces far more than they are now. And speaking about ESRM, I believe that security leaders should first be business leaders before they can be good security leaders. And as good leaders, we have to learn proactively. And you have probably all heard the famous Eleanor Roosevelt quote that you have to learn from the mistake of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. If COVID-19 has taught us one thing, it's the importance of being agile in our work, in our private lives, and as organizations. Working together to solve the challenges that we all have in our organizations. Together we can and we will make this world a safer place. Thank you.
Godfrey, thank you very much indeed. Juan, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Martin. And there are few common denominators of the last, let's say, 15 security conferences I have attended all around the world. And two of these common denominators are, the first one is that trying to demonstrate the employers and try to demonstrate our companies that security is an investment. And the second common denominator is the ambition of the security managers to be part of the C-suite, to be part of the team who designed the strategy of the company, or at least to be aware of which is the strategy of the company for aligning the security strategy besides the company strategy. And but I feel there is a kind of frustration because I've been learning, I've been listening these two common denominators, two complaints for the last 15 years. And I do not perceive too much advance on this. So I would like to come back a little bit to the three questions you sent us, and Martin. The first one is that what should we expect from security leaders? The first one we should expect is to be leaders, not managers. And there is a lot of differentiations between leading and managing. And that's the first thing we should understand. Are they good enough? Are we good enough? To be honest, I don't think so. And simply, if you go to the organigrams of the biggest companies, it's quite difficult to find where is located the security manager and to who report. And this is the first image, this is the first photo you might get of the importance of a security department inside a corporation. So your second question was, what are the ways of which security leadership could be enhanced? That's clear for me, and Geoffrey mentioned before, is through executive education. If we want to go into the C-suite, if we want to help the company to develop their own strategy, if we want to develop a security strategy, we need security education. We are perfect techniques. We know everything about security operations. We know everything about security systems, but we have a total lack of executive education. The third of your question is that, what's my experience with the COVID? What I do think about COVID-19 on the security profession. I honestly think there is a great opportunity for security and post C-19, but not from the original or the traditional view of security, for the new view of security, for an holistical view of security, for something like organizational resilience, where there is a convergence among 3 or 4 different functions, as security, as cyber security, as business continuity, as a crisis management. For finishing, and indeed, I do understand there is a great opportunity for security, but I'm not sure if we were able to take advantage of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And if you have questions, audience, can you please use the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try and get to it. So question and answer button, get your questions in early and we'll try and incorporate it. Okay, so thank you, Juan. That's started in Netherlands, went to Spain. Let's go over to the United States. And Donna, your opening statement, please.
Well, my 2 colleagues hit a lot of my key points, but one thing that I want to focus on is bringing in some strong security leadership and giving us the credit that we deserve. And what we're seeing now is security leaders being brought in from either law enforcement or from the military that speak that language, that haven't really gotten the culture of the private sector if they happen to go into the private sector. And interestingly enough, I read an article in Security Management magazine in April, which basically covers that. If you're a military person, you speak military. And the way to overcome that, you need to get a mentor. You need to get a trusted advisor within that sector, within that new company, to guide you on how to speak. So as Juan had done, I'm going to go through these questions and answer them because I know we have a short period of time. So what do people expect from security leaders? They want decisiveness. Let's face it, that's why we're in the business. We need to be decisive. And as Gottfried pointed out, the emotional intelligence factor. And I'm going to go one step further. You need soft skills. We need to have a calming influence. And that's something that you really can't teach. So you really need to pay attention. And that's where mentorship comes into play. People need to think on her or his feet. It's all about diversity, so her or his feet. And we need to be analytical. So how have security leaders in the past performed? We've been good, but we need to break down silos, as Juan had already mentioned, and strengthen partnerships within our lines of businesses. So if you're in the financial sector, you need to work closely with your clients, manage their expectations, find out what they expect from security and see if you could deliver, or maybe educate them on why we are not the be all and end all. And as someone had already pointed out, we need to break down the silos on cyber and physical. We need to be one big happy family. And how could we be enhanced? We're too reactive right now. And that's the nature of our business, let's face it. But now is the time, or whenever you have time, go out, meet your clients, as I said, establish those partnerships, find out how you could manage their expectations. We have a product to sell, even though we're security. Let's sell our product. And then I'll turn it back over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much indeed, Donna. And finally then, from the United States back to here in the UK, and Don Randall, your opening statement, please.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Thanks, Godfrey, Juan, and Donna, thank you very much. You took me back to 1996, Donna, when I first joined JP Morgan, and Derek Hall. I'm not sure if you remember Derek Hall, he was more the Morgan side. But about 6 months in, he said to me, we want you to be a policeman, but we don't want to see you being a policeman. We want you to be a businessman, but with the policing knowledge. So your words are so accurate, Donna. And the other thing I remember is the different language. And the word demise. Now, from a law enforcement background, demise means someone's downfall, someone's loss. It's actually a geographical area of space and used commonly in the business world. So there is an educational program. So Donna, you're spot on. And likewise, being part of the business. Being part of the business is essential. I think we have an ever-increasing quality of security professionals. I'm privileged to be one of the founders of the Chartered Security Professional launched by the Westfield Company in 2010. As you know, Martin, we're just approaching our 200th registrant. And that is seen as, you know, we have to give accreditation to our industry. And that is just one way of doing it. I think we need to be conscious of the business priorities, as Donna referenced, and work with the business. We're selling the product, as you rightly say, Donna. I'm a great believer, as you know, Martin, that we need partnerships and we should use our expertise and we should use our organisations to facilitate partnerships and support those who can't afford directors of security. So we actually have a buddies type system, or Project Griffin or CWSC. Those initiatives which I've been privileged to be involved in are well out there on the websites. I think we have to have multifunctionality now. You know, CT will never go away. Counterterrorism will never go away. But if you don't get cyber in your portfolio somewhere, you'll be missing a slice. So you've got to be. So the object of convergence of security skills in a security leader becomes, in my opinion, paramount as well. I think when we start looking at where our priorities are, we should be definitely threat intelligence, threat-led prioritization, reaction and response. And I also think these days we're more, the core skills should be 80% given anyway, but we're really into resilience and recovery. But if we go back 20, 30 years ago, they perhaps weren't the priorities they are today. So summarising that, Martin, I think a good security leader, I think we do have quality across the world. We have to share. We have to be diverse in the responsibilities we have. But as Donna rightly says, and my colleagues rightly say, we must be part of the business that we're primarily working for. Thanks, Martin.
Don, thank you very much indeed. Okay, so just to remind the audience, please can you ask the questions on the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. We've already got questions flooding in, so let's get going. I'm going to come to you first, Godfrey. And Michael Odo, if I could take the point of his question and put it in a slightly different way. One of the points that's come out, Godfrey, from that previous discussion is the position of security within organisations, which is generally, despite its important role, is sheltered from the decision-making power. I suppose the point is, what could change that? I mean, does it merit being changed? Is security right to be seen as a marginal issue and not in the high table? Godfrey, your thoughts on that?
Right. No, and that's a good question, and it very much differs also from the industry you're in. So as we said, you have to understand the security industry, but you also have to understand the industry that your business is active in. And I have the luck that I work in retail, and in retail, security is always at the top table, because it makes the difference between making a loss or making a profit, because the margin is so thin that theft and losses really make that difference. So within the retail industry, it's always easy to be on the highest level, working on the level. But in other industries, it really depends on the setup of the organization and the experience, but also on the one leading the security department in that organization.
Thank you very much. Juan, I'm going to come to you, Juan. You've worked in different sectors, and you quite rightly, I think, in your opening statement, pointed out some of the limitations. I guess it's behind Michael's questions too. Security is perhaps where it deserves to be, given the calibre of people that are leading it. That's a logical conclusion from what you said, or do you put the fault elsewhere in not recognising the important role played? In other words, what's the logic, what's the reasoning behind the state of affairs, Juan?
But I mean the CEOs and the boards of the companies needs to buy the product they need to know. But probably some of the people who sell the product do not know the product themselves. So at the end of the day, one of the questions that a CEO of a company might ask himself is, should I get a business manager and training him as a security manager? Or should I contract a security manager and training him as a business manager? And we have an option. I think we have lost a lot of years not taking the challenge of going into the security education Donna mentioned it, Don mentioned it, Guthrie mentioned it. Security education, going in through this decision in the company, having vision, having creativity, and having or influencing the people. Influencing the people is not commanding people, it's influencing the people. And the skills are totally different. So this is a chance. Security, for me, that's my particular opinion, security is not an investment. And I agree with Godfrey that in the case of the retail, or in the case of those activities where security is compulsory, as energy or banking, in the rest of the industries, security is not an investment. It's a necessary cost. As the legal department, as many other departments, we shouldn't be, let's say, afraid of saying that and fighting on that platform. We are necessary for the companies, but we are not an investment. If we go to the C-suite, we are taking the risk of being defeated in the first battle by the financial manager.
Thank you very much indeed. Donna, let me come to a question along similar lines, but from Mike Gibbs, a former panelist actually. And he makes the point, with some exceptions, it's clear the executive suite doesn't see security as a strategic partner. He asked the questions why. You mentioned, or it was mentioned, the military law enforcement backgrounds being a limit. But there's got to be more to it than that, hasn't there? I mean, the fact of the matter is, our security leaders just aren't up to it. They haven't persuaded those who've got that all-round business nous that they have a right to be seen in the same way. I'll ask you, Donna, then I'll ask Don the same question. Donna, you first.
I agree. So it's all about, and I think my colleagues alluded to it already, we can't sit and say, they won't listen to me, they won't listen to me. We have to go out and speak their language. So when I brought up the point of ex-military, ex-law enforcement, they do speak a specific language. They need to get into the minds of their clients. And I say clients, it could be the CEO. So they need to find out how to speak the language of whatever, like I'll take my point, financial institution. What language do our CEOs speak? Don't speak the military term. Don't allude to when you're out, you know, out in the field and, you know, shooting guns or whatever. I wish I had one of those terms in my head. It's been said to me enough. Don't do that. What you're doing is you're saying, I'm different, I'm military, and I'm not even security. I'm in my past life. You need to bring it back to the financial institutions speak.
Donna, thank you very much indeed. Don, I wonder whether I could just develop this a little bit in your answer. And it comes from a question sent in advance by Peter French, who asked this question: what are the outcomes business leadership should expect from the function of security? I mean, it follows logically that if it's not having an impact, what's it got a right to expect, and what should it be thinking about in terms of the security role? Don Randall.
Okay, let's back into Donna. Donna, you're teeing me up very nicely here because, you know, I think we do add value. And, you know, I was fortunate, I sat on the reputational committee at JP Morgan Chase, sat on the business continuity. I think you're quite right about the language. And I recently did some work with a former United Kingdom nuclear submarine commander, and he'd come on a call like this, and when he finished speaking, he'd go, over, Roger, you know, and then to the people in the room, those words meant absolutely nothing. But he was new into the role. But we've got to be at board level. You've got to be able to command board level. I was board level at the Bank of England. We were board level at JP Morgan. You know, you've got to be able to talk the language, and that's when you add the value to Peter's questions. You look at the outcomes. You know, we also, for those of us who come from a militaristic type of background, you have leadership skills, you have decision-making skills, you have completely different mindsets in certain areas where you've confronted things which cost people's lives physically as opposed to financially. And you can intertwine those reactions and add value to a meeting. One would say perhaps a little bit of common sense as opposed to pure business sense. But you can, and the outcome should be, Martin, we should, in my view, you should never shy away from any opportunity to progress the security position of the security leader within the business you're actually undertaking, or you're actually adding to the community as well. So you've got to be very, very versatile. The sooner you can lose that uniform badges and rank, the better you'll be.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Godfrey, let me come to you with a slightly different question. A question from Parnell Lee. And he's talking about how we develop future security leaders. And the point is, Godfrey, I mean, and your role perhaps in a worldwide association might be a good base for this. That is a fundamental point for the future. And of course it comes down to education. But I wonder whether there's a specific route, because the logic of what everyone said is, if you want to be a security leader, leave the security sector, go and work in business and come back in 10 years' time. Gottfried.
I wouldn't agree that you need to work in a different sector, but I would say you need to really make sure that you fully understand the language of the business. In my case, I did an MBA, which equipped me very well to work on that level. So I would highly recommend that to anyone. And I know that a lot of security professionals in our organization did follow MBAs. So they have that basis and they can speak at the board level. So if you have the ability, I would certainly recommend that. If not, then there's still a lot of other sources where you can learn yourself the business speak, but also the business knowledge in the different fields.
Okay, let me ask a similar question. We're just about, my colleague Charlotte Howell and I, we're part of what's called the Security Research Initiative, and we publish a report every year on the security sector. And this year, it's about careers in security and how you attract people to a future career. And it's tempting to say, on the back of what people have said here, that the realistic way of getting to the top is go and do something else. Get your business nous and your business knowledge, because you're not going to learn it in security. You're going to be better off in any other department there is, learning business, and come back later in some other, when you've done that. Would that be a logical deduction to what you were saying earlier?
I wouldn't create the wrong message on the people coming from the military or the law enforcement. I'm coming from the military as well. But the reality is that is what SIS is calling the transition from the former career, which is the law enforcement and the military, into the business world. And the value is in reality our current environment is a business environment, and we need to be inside the business environment. So the question that some CEOs are asking themselves is, which is the real value, being a business manager or being a security manager? Security try to be in the comfort of the prevention. What is the CEO expecting from a security leader? Exactly the same he is expecting for the rest of the leaders of the company. Vision, strategy, creativity, influencing, looking at the future, not looking at the back or being reactive or proactive. We need to be predictive, looking into the future, being part of that. I mean, you go into another activity and you come back to security, it's up to you, but I'm not saying that exactly. What I'm saying is that security education, executive education are complementary, and that is all.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Juan. Let me come to Donna next. Donna, I was going to make a point actually that Chris Jacks has put rather well. And the question he's got is that corporate security's objectives, and in turn its leadership in corporations, can be very different to contract security providers and their leadership. And I wonder, what he's asking is, can common ground be identified between the two? This surely is required to fuse and conjoin thought leadership. And I wonder, Donna, it strikes me that he's hit an important point here, because we talk about the quality of security leadership, but surely if you're a supplier, you're at the mercy of corporations. Donna, your thoughts on that?
I could not agree with you more. Unfortunately, that's the state of affairs. So if we need a camera put in, if we need a security officer, it's like, get it to me yesterday, and, you know, etc. So the thing is establishing partnerships. And if you are a security provider, it's important to show your value and to communicate and to market yourself, not only your company, but yourself. I love doing business with those folks that are proactive, that anticipate my needs, say, Donna, I could provide you with this, that, and the other. I see that you have this, but we could go even further. Make me look good. So that's what the security provider should be doing. Look at your clients. Don't only, get the security officer, analyze, figure out what they may need, and communicate that. You're marketing yourself and you're promoting your client.
Thank you very much indeed. Don, a question for you along similar lines there. This difference between the supplier sector and its leadership and the corporate security sector and its leadership. And I wonder whether you see them as working on a united front, or quite frankly, one being very subservient to the other and therefore all its inefficiencies. Don.
Okay, you could be right if you allow that to happen, Martin. I'll just go back to, I'll come to that straight away, but this issue of spending time away and coming back. I mean, British policing used to do that, used to do secondments for 2 to 3 years to Hong Kong and come back. And it was an in-favour thing for a while, then it fell out of favour. So I think you've really got to pick and choose where you want to be. But I think the way I would approach this, Martin and colleagues, is if you can incentivize the service provider, and we did that in JP Morgan way back, where the good security personnel got first options to move from contract security to in-house security. So they had an incentivization to actually do more. I think if you go to these days, and we know in the UK we've had Project Griffin, we've had the new CSC concept, where the private security industry can do a lot more if you ask them to do it, trust them to do it, and work in the partnership. So I've never been a lover of them and us, yeah? Albeit when I first went to JPM in '96, that attitude did exist then by the then incumbents of those positions. And we tried to move that. We're all one team, all doing the same thing together. And the best thing you could ever do when you come in, and the private security part, invariably out of hours, have taken the lead, taken the leadership, and dealt with it as though they're part of the organization. So I think if you can lose that barrier between the contract guards, one of the ways we did it, and Donna, you'll remember this, we dressed everybody the same, whether you were full-time, contract, or whatever. But if you were in the physical guarding, you all wore the same grey suits, the same white shirts, and the same red ties. So there was no differentiator to the ordinary eye.
Right, we're going to leave you there, Don. Thank you very much indeed. Gottfried, I'm going to come to you. A question from Gerard Davis, who makes an interesting point about whether the problem with good security is no one notices it. And of course, this is an interesting point, isn't it? I remember years ago when I was doing research for the OSPAs, and someone rather sort of cynically said, the trouble with being outstanding at what you do is they don't say, thank you very much for reducing the threats. They say, now you've done it, we don't need you anymore. Gottfried, I wonder whether it's just the way it's positioned has been an issue. Gottfried.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge for a long time. How do you prove that something didn't happen because you took the right measures? That's always going to be a challenge. But what helps us nowadays is the benchmarking, where you can compare your own results with results of competitors or colleagues, and see that if the industry average is, for instance, a certain robbery rate or a certain internal theft rate, then if you can succeed in lowering that compared to the industry, then you somehow have proven that you did the right things. But it's always challenging, and not everything can be measured as easily as these topics.
And Gottfried, just a quick follow-up. In your world, in your sort of a commercial world, does that happen? Is that actually a very common way of judging success?
Yeah, the good thing, the luck that I have is that in my work, it's all about the return on investment. So there is an investment in a security device. And because that security device not only reduces crime, but it also reduces manpower of people having to handle cash in this case, you can prove that you just have a winning business case. So then that makes it way more easy.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to come to Juan next. Juan, if I could ask you to be sort of fairly brief, a different question altogether, Juan, from Brian Sims. Seems a good one for you, though. He says, does the development of security systems and technology and all where that's going demand a new breed of professional, a different type of professional in the security world? Juan.
Indeed, I think so. I mean, we might
We're losing you again, Juan.
Example of the convergence between physical. All right.
Yes, you're back again.
Martin,
yeah,
can you hear me?
on,
So it's the same. That's the same question when we talk about physical security and cyber security. And indeed, security or historical security managers need to know or need to acquire some technical knowledge. I mean, the security systems are improving very fast according to the evolution of the technology. And we should be aware. They do not expect for us to be 100% technicians, but we need to know at least the basic of all security system, of all the new security system. And I would like to highlight again these differences between physical security and IT security. Most of the security managers, the physical security managers, do not want to go into the cyber field, into the IP camera, into the new security system, and they should go, because if not, they are going to be lost in this new opportunity as well.
Martin, this is Donna. I have a question following up on Juan. So Juan, why do you think physical security is hesitant to go into the IT group?
I've seen the experience of many large Spanish companies where the physical security manager didn't want to take anything related to IT because it was a technical barrier. I mean, you are a technical analphabetic or not a technical analphabetic, and the IT world sounds very strange. It's totally different than the typical physical security profile. And I've seen some cases, I would prefer not mention the names, where there was an opportunity in large companies of merging the departments and for appointing one of the two to run the company or to run the department. And it was the CISO, it was the Chief Information Security Officer who took the responsibility, basically because the physical security manager didn't want to take that risk. He didn't want to leave his comfort or their comfort. And it's a change.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you for that. We're running out of time, so I'm going to move on very quickly. I've got a follow-up question for Donna. Donna, Carl Bouchan, and I hope, Carl, I've pronounced that right, just wants to pick you up on the point about losing the sort of police military background and speaking the language of business. And Carl's point is, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. These people have a wealth of security expertise they bring. I've slightly taken his question in a different context, but the point is, Donna, is be careful what you wish for, because okay, we've got to learn new skills, but we don't want to lose the old ones. Can I actually be very, very brief, Donna, because we're running out of time?
Quite simply, I first of all, I totally agree. And I'm not saying don't discount these folks that have the background. We need that skill set. It's a matter of communicating and not using the military or the former law enforcement words when you're dealing with the CEO of companies.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And final question, Don, I'm just going to come to you. We're being inundated with questions and we're not going to get through them. Don, final comment from you, if you wouldn't mind, on a question from Mike Cummings. And he talks about security executives going outside their comfort level. He says, are you aware of any security executives that in order to develop their careers and expertise have actually done that, actually stepped aside in order to develop and then come back in and been the better because of it. Don, your thoughts?
Yes, I've seen a couple, and they've done it quite well. I'm not against that. I don't personally see the need for it. And as I don't have a hesitation in taking the cyber mantle as well as the physical mantle, as long as you put it in the right. If you do that transition, don't try and be a technician. Actually bring your security skills to the technical world and let the technical world see your security skills and work together. So I think to answer your question, I don't personally see the need. I've seen people, I know someone recently who went to audit. He didn't go to be a professional auditor. He went there for 2 to 3 years to understand the audit function and came back a more informed and a greater experienced individual. So as Donna says, as everybody said, it's a question of blending the skills together, Martin, not actually just single disciplines. Remember, I just finally say, Martin, remember I said at the start, Derek Hall said, we want you to be a policeman, we just don't want to see you being the policeman.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Final quick comment, Don, just yes, one or the other. Is it easier to teach security skills to a business professional or a business professional teach security skills?
Depend of us. Depend of us, Martin.
Okay, one.
Depends of us, depend of the illusion. And I mean, I really bet for the real decision is giving executive education to the security professionals, but they need to want to take it. And normally, and sometimes, it's a decision of the company to send their security managers to the executive education courses, to the executive education. It should be a company decision, not a professional decision one, sometimes.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen around the world, we're running out of time. I'm going to ask each of the panel if they would like to make just one final statement about security leadership and where we go from here. So let's go first to Gottfried. Gottfried, in 20 seconds, if you will, your final thoughts on security leadership.
Okay, just like to ask everyone in the audience to try to help young professionals find their way in the industry, coach them, mentor them, help them find a way. It's for us, it's relatively easy. We have the connections, we have the knowledge, we know how to get them on the right track. And if we all do that, we make sure that we have a funnel of fabulous future security professionals. Thank you, Martin.
Godfrey, that's great. Thank you. Juan, if you wouldn't mind, 20 seconds, Juan, your final thoughts.
All right. I mean, the key thing for us is to locate security in the chain of value of the company. And are we an expense, or in which part of the chain of value of our company we are? We are part of the product. We are part of the company. We are part of the strategic objective. And that should be the key thing. Coming from the 3G world, guards, guns, and gates, into the add value or value add, the vision, and the creativity for the future. That's my point.
Juan, thank you very much indeed. Donna, if you wouldn't mind, 20 seconds, your final thoughts, please.
Piggybacking on what Gottfried said, we need to look at young professionals. We need to have our security industry survive. And don't always look at, do they have a security background? I've had some phenomenal security staff that just has some core skill sets on what we needed, whether it be project management or strong communication skills. There are a lot of people out there that don't have the security background that want to get into security. Be willing to give them a chance. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you, Donna. And finally, Don, in just 20 seconds, please, your final comments.
Sure, I concur with everybody, but add value at every opportunity, business and security, be multifunctional, share and partner, and get a position at board level or board voice.
Don, thank you very much indeed. And to all the panel, thank you so much. We didn't get through all the questions, slightly inevitably, I think, on a topic like this. In fact, Luke Monlonge has asked the final point, saying, could we extend the session, please? Well, we always finish promptly. That's part of what we do on these security thought leadership webinars. But thank you very much indeed to the panel for their insightful views, and you, the audience, for your questions. Just let you know that around the world, when you're talking about security being excellent, we have the sponsorship, the opportunity to enter the OSPAs These are open in India, US, Benelux, Romania, Australia, Kenya, Germany, and the UK. Your chance to enter the OSPAs, your chance to put forward. Just let you know, today, Don Randall was a Lifetime Achievement winner at the UK OSPAs. He did that because he put himself forward, or he's put forward. Do consider that, please. It's very important we identify those who are doing an outstanding job around the world. Finally, to say, we're back again on Thursday, every Tuesday and Thursday throughout lockdown we've been here. And on Thursday, we're talking about developing skill sets in the security sector. Do security professionals know how competent they need to be? In a big debate in previous webinars. So look forward to debating that on Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you to Hannah and Christine in the background. Thank you very much indeed to my panel for their insightful views and for contributing to this important topic. And thank you, the audience, for joining in and for all your questions. Hopefully you can join us on Thursday. So until then, wherever you are in the world, stay safe.